Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Lesson Known Classic. This is episode number 33, 31, Doubleshot 33, 25. Got two Marvel trades. One is actually going to cap off a series because, well, and the other one is capping off a writer's run for a particular title, which we'll talk about in a minute. So, first discussing Shuri, Wakanda Forever. Yeah, it's one of these Marvel Digest books that basically collect almost a whole run in like one book, basically like a first half. I did the same thing with the Miles Morales Spider-Man book, and also with the Unstoppable Wasp, where I basically use it. But this one in particular is interesting because I have technically reviewed the first 7 issues already. You're thinking, how? Well, there was a couple previous trade paperback the Shuri I had reviewed. One was the very first trade collection from this very series, which collected the first 5 issues, and also the Marvel Shuri trade. This particular title is the first title for Shuri under her actual name. Not under Black Panther per se. This is technically her 3rd series she's ever had. How do I know that? Well, because Black Panther Volume 5 was technically her first series because she had to take the series over from her brother throughout a lot of the book because he was knocked in a coma at the start of the book by Doctor Doom because of a later Dark Reign. Then she had a mini-series called Black Panther Claws of the Panther. And then this. This was basically... Now, the only reason why this book was released at the time, which was back in 2018... was because of the Black Panther movie. Yep, that was the only reason why. Of course, we had Killmonger, his own solo book too, which that was just a mini-series. But Shuri was ongoing. Yep, it was an ongoing series that was abruptly cut off after only 10 issues. The book itself is written by, well, basically... The first 7 issues are by Nita Okra, which I've discussed already, and the last 3 issues is Vita Allah. Not sure why that the original writer left the book. It's a complete mystery to me. Leonardo Romero does the first 5 issues. 6 7 is Peter Davidson, like I said, we're discussing this already. And the last 3 is Rachel Schott. So we're going to page 152 with this one. So the storyline was called 24/7 Vibranium. So in this book, by the way, Shuri is basically wearing her Black Panther outfit. Yes, and for some weird reason, it basically, you read issue 7, that kind of felt like the end of a story arc, and these last 3 issues just feel like an addition may or may not be necessary. You have Shuri talking to her ancestors. Actually, just people she just know. We see her flying with wings in the capital, in the Golden City. There's a reference to the Tai Nakakoso, which he actually was still the writer of the book at the time. Yeah, he would write the book for several years. He wrote the book for about 4 years and did a lot of comic books in that period of time. Oh my gosh. And I actually really enjoyed his run. And for some weird reason, I'm not sure why Marvel did this for, the Wakanda Forever movie was loosely adapting that run. Because they decided to bring in the Midnight Angels, a lesbian couple from the comic book. Actually made a debut in War Wakanda. But, yeah, they made a debut in the War Wakanda book, but, well, that was the first chronological appearance. The characters, they were appearing in the main book too. Yes, and I have my issue with the Wakanda Forever movie. Like, did I have a problem with Shuri being Black Panther movie? Not necessarily, no, because that's taken from... You ever think it's an older comic? Well, kind of in a way. Because here's kind of the thing. She became Black Panther in 2009. And the thing is, she already appeared in previous movie already. And she only around the comics at that point, since 2005 with the Who is Black Panther story by Rachel Holland. Because she's one of the very few characters that appear in the very first Black Panther movie who is not a creation of Christopher Priest and Mark Textra. You're like, that is interesting. Yes, because if you look at that entire cast, they're basically, the only ones who are not is Shuri, Black Panther himself. No, not his mom. Mom basically was Christopher Priest's character. Killmonger and Ulysses Claw. Well, with the option of these four characters, everybody else. Oh, and Makbu, yeah, him too. With the exception of these five characters, they're all from Christopher Priest. Yes. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created Black Panther himself, Ulysses Claw. Killmonger appeared in Jungle Action. Makbu appeared in the Avengers, and he's a Roy Thomas creation. Though, here's the thing about Makbu. His comic book is known as Man-Ape. They did loosely adapt this version of the character for the comic books. He's basically the ruler of the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. So you just have Shuri just looking around at stuff. By the way, you have Storm here appearing in the title. Yes, her ex-sister-in-law is appearing in the title. Which, I might do a comic history on that one, because basically there's some artifacts of that thing that are very controversial about that book. So, you have her racing, of course, fighting a giant mantis. I might do that next. Yes. So, a lot of this book is basically her just... It's just exploring the wonders of Wakanda with this train thing, which... That is interesting, the fact they include the train, because... If I remember correctly, this train here never appeared in the comic book prior to this one. Because this comic, you could say this comic book was kind of bringing stuff from the live-action movie. It's like I was bringing stuff from a live-action movie into the comic book, which the train was one of them. And they made the Golden City look like the way it is in the movie, which I don't necessarily have a problem with that, per se. Because you could think of it as advanced technology. Fine. And then you have her talking to... More stuff in the last issue of this book is, well, talking to various people here while deal with this mantis creature. And then it's like powers return, and then for some reason you encountered more previous Black Panthers, one of whom happens to be a chubby woman. Yes, when I saw this again, I remember this years ago, like, really? Like, you would think that the royal family is no, like, if you look at a lot of the previous Black Panthers, they're all in really good shape. This one is not. She's not in very good shape. It's like, yeah, let's do a chubby one because why not? And it's all kind of other Black Panthers. It's like all the ancestor stuff. And it's like... And these last two issues feel like basically it's like Allah is having us artists bring all that stuff from the movie and put in the comic book. That's the best way you can describe the last three issues. It's bringing all the technology, the way the city looks, because I think, and this is my honest opinion, I don't think the city has been updated at all, like since it made its debut back in the 60s. Because it's made occasional appearances over the years. It's not been, let's say, thoroughly been explored. Because the Golden City is something that, well, it's the capital of Wakanda. It made its debut back in the 60s, but it was very brief. And do have a problem with Marvel artists adding stuff, basically updating the city the way it looked in the movie and the comic book. Do I have a problem with that? Not necessarily. I do not have an issue with it at all. That's perfectly fine. As long as you don't have the characters look like the live-action actors. Like you did with Daredevil once, where at one point he looked like Charlie Cox. Yes. If you read, I think it was the Charles Soule run, I think it was. It was a one issue where he was drawn like Charlie Cox. Black Widow, for one cover of Secret Avengers, actually was the opening issue cover, where she was drawn to look like Scarlett Johansson. Now you might be asking, does Shuri, is she drawn to look like her actress from the movie? No. No, she is not. Despite the fact we have Chadwick Boseman being the Black Panther for a few movies. Was Black Panther's face updated to look like Chadwick Boseman? No! Because if it's that for the movie, that's fine. But if you're having the regular publication line using that look for the movies as look for the character, it's really stupid and people will reject it. Because this is not where before. I mean, yes, we had to have the Black Nick Fury thing, but the only reason why that's there is because of Samuel L. Jackson. Because Marvel, it's like, oh, people like the Black Nick Fury? Despite the fact there was one in the alternate universe, let's retire the white one that has been there since the 60s. Let's have him shoved to the side and not do much of anything and just, well, yeah, let's not have him do anything and have Nick Fury Jr., who is pretty much his father. Heck, at one point, you see, if you read his debut appearance, Nick Fury Jr. was a beefy guy. Humongous. It's like this guy basically got a workout. And then, after the Battlescars miniseries, it's like nowadays, you see Nick Fury Jr., he is slimmed down to look exactly like his father, to the point where he is slim, and it's like white Nick Fury, just black now. That's kind of how he's depicted nowadays. Even with the trench coat. It's not occasionally wear a trench coat, but I'm like, yeah, a lot of people see Nick Fury Jr., see him as a forced mandate by Marvel editorial to include stuff from the movies. Yeah, they include Phil Coulson, but here's the thing. Here's the thing about Phil Coulson. I think a lot of people are not upset with the comic version as they are with other characters look like their movie counterparts. Because he's not an original comic book based character. He's from the movies. And they put him in the comic book because why not? Like, do I have a problem he looks like Clark Gregg? No. Not in the slightest. Because he debuted movies first, then the comic book. But if you have a comic book character, debut comics first, then movie, and then of course you look at the character, that's where the problem lies. Yes. Alright. So, by the way, I give those that Shuri book, the VRL issues, I give it roughly a I love the artwork for the book. I give the artwork a 10 because I thought it was really good. The story itself, there wasn't much story there, sadly. It's just Vita Ayala having the artwork tell more of the story than the actual It was not much of a story for the last 3 issues of the book. It's like, you read the book, it's like the story was over with issue 7. But they probably had to extend the book by a few issues because they wanted Phil to back. That's my guess. But, Shuri is a good book. Definitely. Did I think it needed the last 10 issues? No. I think it should have been just a quick mini-series. Did I necessarily think it needed to be ongoing? I don't think so, no. She's not a character specifically needed of an ongoing series. I was kind of surprised it lasted that long. But it should have been a 7-issue miniseries. I think everyone would have been fine with that. Yeah. The next up we have is Predator, The Last Hunt. And this is the final miniseries this is the final book written by Ed Bronson, writing the book. Yep. Now, unlike the previous book, which there were brief ongoings that were relaunched, this is an actual miniseries. Well, the first volume was 6 issues, second volume was 5. This one, if you're really curious, how many issues is The Last Hunt? 4. Yep. Ed Bronson, of course, is the writer. The artwork for pretty much the whole thing. It's like they had different colors. They have different inker for issue 3. The artist for all 4 issues is Francisco Mina. Basically, it kind of follows from the previous 2 books, and it kind of wraps up this, like, of course you have the female, you have the woman who dresses up like a predator. We have more hunting, and of course this miniseries is noteworthy for bringing a character from the Dark Horse comics to this continuity. Also, the woman who dresses like Predator, she lost her arm in previous books, so now she's got a robotic arm. Also, at one point, I'm not sure why this is, where someone brings like this thing on the table, and for some reason, the artist made it look like a lightsaber. Even though it's activated like a lightsaber, it's like, well, it just looks like it. Yeah, it looks like a hilt of a lightsaber. But closer look at it, it looks like a sonic screwdriver. Yeah, and with the extra thing in the inside, it looks like the... Thank you. You look at this part here of it, it looks like the Matt Smith sonic screwdriver. And I'm like, really? Why the heck would you bring in that in this comic book? Here's the thing. Marvel doesn't want to write Doctor Who anymore. It's just that you look at this thing's edge of this device, whatever it is, it's like, most of it kind of looks like a lightsaber handle, but at the tip of it, with a little thing extra top, it reminds me of the Matt Smith one. Kind of. So, then she puts it in her thing, eats her food, and, oh boy, they basically come across these cryotubes, people are dead, and then we see return of John Skipper. Who is this guy, you might ask? Why, he is actually one of the primary characters from the Dark Horse comic run that Marvel decided to include in this miniseries. Yeah, they included him. The reason for it? I have no idea. Probably because Ed Bronson, he must have been a really big fan of the Dark Horse comic run. Oh yeah, he must have been a big fan of Dark Horse comics run for Predator. Let me look up and see exactly. So he first appeared in Concrete Jungle. And who is this guy? Why, he's Dutch's brother. You're like, what? As in Schwarzenegger's character? Oh, yeah. Yeah, apparently he was chronologically frozen. And yeah, and he's basically, well, Dutch's brother. And he is from the original comic book. I guess Ed Bron's like, hey, why don't we include this guy? His last appearance was in Hunters 3, which came out in 2020. That was the last time he appeared in a comic book. So by the time this miniseries came out, by the way, which was just last year, it was the first time in 4 years. Excuse me, that he appeared, and it's great to see the guy again. Yeah. I guess because Marvel has been publishing, believe it or not, yes, I think Marvel has been publishing the Predator comic book as part of the Epic Collections. I think so. Let me take a look about that, because I think it was. Because I remember I did see that the Alien one, the Alien, they did publish as part of the Epic Collections for Marvel. Let's see here. Oh, they haven't. But Alien they have. Oh, yeah. For Aliens, they pretty much threw in like the entire line from Dark Horse. Because I figured, though, why not? This might be interesting to pick up, basically, someday. Provided not expensive. Matter of fact, next volume comes out... The first one came out in 2023. The second one came out last year. And the next one's supposed to come out in November. Well, that should be cool. Now, those of you are thinking, is the Dark Horse Predator books, are they collected in trade? They are. There are 4 omnibuses. Well, most of them anyways. Not all of them. Basically, they haven't collected up until Hail Come Walking. They haven't collected everything, per se, in the omnibuses. Yeah, and the last one they published was back in 2008. October 2008. As to the reason why they haven't collected everything, I don't know. I think I know some of the later ones that they are collecting in trade paperback, yes. So yeah, he's here because, well, it's the next story of this thing. So they bring him in for nostalgia value, and I think overall, I think he's the only character who was exclusively created by Dark Horse comic books that made appearance in a comic book published by Marvel Comics. You're like, that's interesting. Those who are curious about Punisher Concrete Jungle, that was actually a follow-up to the original Predator movie. As a matter of fact, it takes place after Predator, the very first movie released in 1987. So most of the point of this miniseries, it's set further in the future, or basically they go out for the Predator homeworld. It's like a big action set piece here. And they do kill they kill a lot of Predators out of this book. Yep. Yeah, and of course, basically, like the female Predator, the woman who I forgot her name. She basically loses her arm that she got replacement for. So basically, John Pilot's thing, and of course, basically, she goes with the guy who I think she has a thing for, and puts basically the Predator head on a spike, and that's it for that miniseries. It's a lot of fun. Plus, I love the variant covers they have. Look at this one. This cover here is an obvious nod to Wolverine Volume 2, Number 1. Which, gotta love these amazing covers for this book. And there's no denying, this book is amazing. And here's the interesting thing when it comes to Predator. The next series, that's not a crossover, mind you, is Predator Black, White, and Blood, which is still being published right now. There have been a few crossovers, basically, they put out. First with Wolverine and Black Panther and Spider-Man, and now one with the Marvel Universe, which that one just started publishing just this month. And it's all done by Ben Percy. But this last Hunt book is the last... Oh, her name is Talia. That's the name, Talia. This book here is the final miniseries done by Ed Bronson. Tita, of course, is the original character for this line. Yes. Yeah, she's original for the Marvel comic line, per se. She is a loose take on a character from Dark Horse. who appeared in a couple crosses with Alien. Yeah, as for why this was a miniseries, not an ongoing per se, I don't know. I've never asked it. I've never met Ed Bronson, so. But as for these three books as a whole, basically, Day of the Hunter, The Preserve, and The Last Hunt, all really good. I think Ed Bronson himself did an excellent job with these books, and do I think basically he could come back and do more? That depends upon him. I've never met the guy though. I have met somebody you work with. I think it was Mike Perkins. Because I remember Ed Bronson also did a Iron Fist book. Yep, he did. And Mike Perkins worked with him on Iron Fist. Which I think that's one of the more recent books he did. Because he's actually done a good amount of books. I mean, the guy is really good. I love Ed Bronson's work. Like, those of you curious though, what is his earliest work he's ever done? Well, mostly he started out with Image Comics. Doing books like Comeback, Creep, he also did the Creep Show issue. Die, Da, Los Monstros, Field, Mantle, Shattered, Silver Coin Bound. Basically, some mini-series. He did a series for IDW. He did 24 Underground, Thundercats Apex, a couple books for Dark Horse, Murder Box. He did a few books for Boom Studios, Cluster Dispatch Contract, AWA Studios. It's a comic company, not the rest of the company. Sins of Salton Sea, Beyond the Breach, and that's his other comics. For DC Comics, the earliest comic he wrote for DC was actually Batman and Robin Eternal. Yep, he did that. He did the Annual of Batman for the most recent volume for the book. He also Secret Files for Clown Hunter, Peacekeeper. He did the Stormwatch, Stormbat, and Brave and the Bold. Short story from Shadow War Zone. He did the Batman Incorporated book. He did Deathstroke Incorporated. He took over after Josh Williams left issue 9. Night Terror's Ravager. The 30th anniversary one-shot for Wildstorm. But those might be asking, what's the most recent book came out with? I'd say it's probably from DC, probably the Brave and Bold stuff. Marvel, it's like he's a lot for Marvel. Oh my gosh, a lot for Marvel. He did Avengers Wastelands, a Bullseye miniseries, Contagion, a story for Deadpool Black, White, and Blood, a volume for Ghost Rider, the previous one for Ben Burns took over. Second volume for Ghost Rider 2099, Spirits of Ghost Rider, Mother of Demon, King of Black Ghost Rider. Incoming, the Iron Fist book, which I think was his very first book he did with Marvel. A Story from Our Comic Presents and 1000. The three Predator books, 2 issues of Sad Avengers. Excuse me. Actually, his first book he did was actually not the Bullseye book. It was actually a story for Battle World. He did some inspiring books: The Absolute Carnage, Simulated Vengeance, 2 issue Missing Summer in Volume 5, Giant Size Missing Summer Killing Conspiracy, Carnage, Black, White, and Blood, Sinister War 2 through 4. He did some excellent work. He did Old Man Logan, Dead Man Logan, some issue Cable, X-Men Gold. Basically, he did the backup story Countdown Extermination, which was he also did Extermination. The first 10 issues of Kenny X-Men Volume 5, A Source of Tomorrow Xmas, X-Force Volume 5, Ajax Next Gen, Outflight True North, New Mutants. He did a run for that one. He was the co-writer of that book with Hickman. Empire X number 3, Wolverine, Black, White, and Blood, Heroes Reborn, Weapon X, and Final Flight. And he did a Flight miniseries. But what's his most recent book he released, Marvel? This very book right here. As for more, I'm not sure, but you could kind of say that what happened with him between Marvel and DC, why he did more Marvel book than DC. I'm guessing it probably was a very similar situation with Ben Percy, which editorial was not that nice to him very much, so he left and went over to Marvel. He's done, like, you look at his market, like, oh my gosh, he did a lot of comics in the last several years. And Ed Bronson is a good writer. Hope I get to meet. I hope I get to meet in future Comic Con. Okay, so that is pretty much it for a particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up is Alice Bookworm. Okay, next video. Bye.